Good evening, guys. Welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, welcome to the evening session. So, morning we have completed the lecture 11, unit 4. Some topics we have discussed in the unit 4. The balance topics we'll discuss in the lecture 8. So, only one student. So, okay, we'll just okay. So we'll start the class. Automatically they will join the class. No issues. So, in this unit 4, that is common effluent treatment plant and wastewater discharge effluent, how we are doing. So morning sessions flow we have discussed about how the wastewater is discharged into the streams, how the wastewater is discharged into lakes, oceans, and the land. So in the land we are having two types. One is for irrigation, other one is for the into the sea. One is for irrigation purpose, other one is for the disposal into the water streams, lakes, and others. So whenever you get a question, discharges of streams or lakes or oceans, so what is the cause, right? What are the effects? What are the remedies? What are the methods? You should raise those things whenever you get a question about streams, lakes, oceans, or land treatment. So oceans, instead of ocean question, if you get marine disposal, marine is nothing but a ocean. Marine disposal, how the wastewater is dumping into the marine disposal, or what are the treatments to be done, what are the remedies to be done, what are the effects. So see, read the question carefully. Problems ఉన్నప్పుడు we have to start writing the problems associated. Pollution problem, water pollution, land pollution, air pollution, right? So whenever it is discharging into the lakes, what happened to the water, or what are the methods to eliminate. So like this depends upon the question, write the answer. Okay. And the common effluent treatment plants. So whenever they ask the question, take in any industry or describe common effluent treatment plant with a case study. లేదంటే ఒక ఇండస్ట్రియల్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ తీసుకొని draw the flowchart of common effluent treatment plant అని చెప్తాం. Then you have to take any industry which is very easy for you to, for example, if you take a textile industry, or if you take a sugar pulp industry, or example if you take any paper industry. So you have to write the basic manufacturing process, basic process, how they are going, and you have to describe the advantages, disadvantages, and limitations. And also if you see wastewater characteristics, unit 1 నుంచి unit 6 వరకు wastewater characteristics are same. So what are those? BOD, COD, SS, TOC, oil and grease. These are the characteristics. Next, the recirculation of the industrial waste. How we are recirculating the industrial waste, in what ways we are doing, what are the methods, and what are the effluent disposal methods, right? So this will, the balance things we'll discuss in this class. So this is completed in the morning session. So I'll share this PPT in your group. See here, the methods of water disposal. We are having 3 methods. So types of receiving or dilution, right? Lakes, oceans, disposal of wastewater in lake flow, how we are disposing, right? In the lake pollutants, what are the pollutants in the lake, right? So these are the things you have to write. Now disposal of sewage on land. So we are having 2 types, that is irrigation, sewage forming, and rapid infiltration process. Wastewater can be applied to land by the following 3 methods. So these are the 3 methods of doing the process. Out of these 3 methods, the spray irrigation is most commonly used method in the Western countries, while surface irrigation is commonly adopted in India. So if you see the 3 methods, surface operation వచ్చేసి ఇండియాలో ఆపరేట్ చేస్తాము. Spray method or sprinkling method, these are used for the other Western countries. For spray operation irrigation method, the sewage should be pre-treated, otherwise the spray nozzles can be clogged. So whenever you are doing with the spray nozzles, that is spray irrigation చేస్తున్నప్పుడు, the nozzles should be thoroughly cleaned. Why? Because it will get clogged. It will get clogged inside the holes. That's why in India they are adopting the surface irrigation. In the subsurface irrigation method, wastewater is supplied directly to the root zone of the plants through the system of underground pipes and the open joints. So in the subsurface irrigation method, so they are using the underground pipes or with the open joints. This method is not suitable. The method is not suitable for the untreated wastewater containing lots of suspended solids. So it depends upon the types of material, types of solids coming from the wastewater. We have to choose any three methods, either a sprinkling or spray method, subsurface irrigation or surface irrigation. Next, disposal of wastewater in the sea, disposal of wastewater in the sea or ocean or marine and చెప్పొచ్చు. So I've seen some question, marine disposal ఏంటి అని చెప్తాం. In the marine disposal, you have to see, you can write sea or ocean or marine disposal. I have seen a question, how it is disposed in the marine disposal, and you got a question. I will show the questions later. Next, the points to be kept in mind while discharging the sewage into sea are, the sewage should be discharged in a deep sea water. So how the sewage should be discharged? The sewage should be discharged in the deep sea water, not only surface layers of the sea water. Next, in order to mix the sewage properly, with the sea water, what you have to do, the sewage should be released at a minimum depth of 3 to 5 meters below the water level. So 5 meters below the depth of water level should be released. So what is the average height of a person? The average height of a person may be 1.6 meter or 1.6 meter to 1.9 meter. So if you see 2 meters, 3, 4, 5 meters. So 5 meters depth your sewage is being released, right? And thus the preventing nuisance of to bath and recreation centers on the shore. అంటే సముద్రము బీచెస్ లో, షోర్స్ లో, సో బాతింగ్ చేయడానికి పీపుల్ అండ్ రిక్రియేషన్ ఎంజాయ్ చేయడానికి న్యూసెన్స్ రాకుండా ద సీవేజ్ అనేది ఇట్ ఈస్ బరీడ్ ఇన్ ద 3 to 5 meters below the water level. ఓకేనా? నెక్స్ట్, to prevent the backing up and spreading of the sewage on the seashore, the sewage should be disposed on only during the low tides. So తక్కువ అలలు ఉన్న ప్రాంతంలో we have to go and discharge large sized tanks. Therefore, be constructed to hold the sewage during the high tides. Provision of large sized water grated with non-return valves at the end is also alternative method to hold the sewage during the high tides. Right? So these are some of the methods how to dispose the wastewater in the sea. Before deciding the position of the outfall point, the sea current, wind directions, velocity. So you have to take all these points into consideration. What are these points? The sea current, the wind directions, the velocity of the water should be properly studied. The sea currents, wind direction, velocity should be properly studied. The points of the disposal should be such that the sewage is taken away from the shore by the winds. So when you see the sewage, what we were disposing, the sewage is taken away from the shore by the wind and not brought back near the shore by the winds, and not brought back near the shore. The discharge of industrial wastewaters into the sea should, however, be controlled in respect of the quality of the effluents. Okay, by adhering to the following Indian standards. So we have to follow some of Indian standards, regulations for discharging of the industrial waste into the sea, right? Next, what are the considerations of the seawater? The saturation concentration of dissolved oxygen in water decreases with increasing the salt concentration. So our dissolved oxygen, whatever we are having in the effluent, is decreased whenever you are dumping in the salt concentration. Why? Because the seawater is in salt concentration. Dissolved oxygen in the sea water is approximately 80% of that in the water. In addition to the deficiency, the temperature of the seawater is lower than the sewer temperature, whereas the specific gravity is higher. Due to the deficiency, the temperature, whereas the specific gravity is also higher. For that reasons, the sewage is discharged into the seawater. The lighter and the warmer sewage will rise up to the surface, resulting the lighter and warmer sewage will rise up to the surface, resulting in spreading of the sewage at the top surface in a thin film known as slick. Next. Moreover, the seawater contains a large amount of dissolved matter which chemically reacts with the sewage solids, resulting in the precipitation of some of the sewage solids, giving a milky appearance. Okay, as such of the capacity of the sewage to absorb the sewage solids. So just read these points liberally so that you can write on your own. Next, water, wastewater recirculation. How we use the wastewater, how we reuse the wastewater, and how we recirculate the wastewater. The industrial wastewater can be recycled. The industrial wastewaters can be recycled and reused for a variety of purposes. So how they are recycling? They are recycling for irrigation purpose. They are recycling for cooling purpose. They are recycling for rinsing purpose. They are recycling for feed water purpose. Right? So these slides are taken from this website. So where they give the professional solutions for the water bodies. Next, what are the environmental benefits whenever we are reusing or recirculating? Some environmental benefits are fresh water conservation can be done. Okay. Next, reduced water discharge can be done. Next, water pollution control can be prevented. We can control the water pollution. Next, industrial wastewater recycling systems. What are the recycling systems? Wastewater recovery typically employs a multi-stage system to remove what? Suspended solids, SS, BOD and COD, coloring agents, heavy metals, grease and oil. So దీని గురించి ఆల్రెడీ మనం డీటెయిల్ గా మనము డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నాం, రైట్? So whenever you are doing the recycling system, what are the things that are removed means suspended solids, BOD, COD, coloring agents, heavy metals, grease and oil. These are the materials that are removed whenever you are doing the recycling system. Then what are the economic benefits? The economic benefits, not the personal benefits. Economic benefits to the industries are reduction in the utility cost. So we can reduce the utility cost what we are using in the industry. Product recovery. So the recovery can be done through products and services. Dependable water supply. So every time there is a proper demand and we can depend on the water supply whenever we are getting reused and recirculated water, right? Next, in the recycling, what is the primary treatment stages typically consists of? So the primary treatment is, first we have to oil and water separation. We have to adjust the pH values, addition or removal of coagulants and flocculants, mixing and clarification process. Secondary treatment lo, we are going with the cartridge filtration process, bag filtration process, multimedia filtration process. Tertiary treatment, we are going for the ultrafiltration. The ultrafiltration already మనం యూనిట్ 2 or 3 లో డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నాం. Reverse osmosis second unit లో డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నాం. Disinfection process also discussed in the second unit. Okay. Next. So I have seen a question. Actually, this term is not there in your syllabus. 4th unit lo ఈ word లేదు. But I have seen some questions. Some question paper. What is the meaning of oxygen? Meaning of oxygen sac curve and only. So the 3D diagram of oxygen sac curve in organic source is a great ideal for time and distance may be required for stream and anaerobic. So oxygen sac, where the oxygen is sagging, means where the oxygen is reducing. So if you see this picture, clear zone. So it is divided into 5 stages. One is a clear zone phase, otherwise a decomposition zone, otherwise a septic zone, otherwise a recovery zone, otherwise a clear zone. And it is having again recycle. Sorry. So clear zone. So malli tarvat again it is repeating a cyclic order. Again after clear zone, decomposition zone, septic zone, recovery zone, again clear zone. So means what happens means in the clear zone what happens? Straw, breach, bass, malwee, stone, sleek, all these materials are dumping into the sewage ocean. See here how the industrial effluents are dumping into the seawater. So in the decomposition zone what happens? Oxygen అనేది sag జరుగుతుంది. Here the BOD demand, biochemical oxygen demand, Here, because of the dissolved oxygen, all the aquatic animals are living on the surface. When coming to the decomposition zone, the aquatic animals are lowering down, thereby the oxygen is sagging. So there is a shortage of oxygen here. That's why the aquatic animals are going down, and the microorganisms, all the other small organisms are settling up. It's a septic zone where the fishes are absent. Sludge worms, middle, and mosquito larvae are is developing at this stage. At this sag stage, this is the oxygen sag under. Next, recovery zone. Again, the trash fish, blackfly, and mid larva. Again, slowly, whenever the curve is keep on increasing and getting the dissolved oxygen, again slowly, this microorganisms, the other worms are reducing, thereby the fishes are increasing. Next, clear zone. Mali same ide stage ki, again it is coming, and again we are forming a settlement, thereby the fishes are breathing with a good oxygen levels. So this is simply oxygen sac curve. So then 2D law, if you draw dissolved oxygen sac curve, so this can be drawn like this. So in the x-axis, if the question comes, so actually this is not there in the syllabus, but I have seen a question, that's why I'm going to discuss this now. So if you get a question, write this graph. The x-axis you are having time, the days, time days. The y-axis you are having dissolved oxygen, right? So make a numbering like this: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. From at the point of middle level 6, the oxygen sag is going down, and it is making a curve at certain point, right? So just draw this figure and explain by seeing this figure only. The initial deficit is at higher level of this normal sag curve, right? So the critical point is here to here, the critical point, right? The concentration, dissolved oxygen concentration is this level. So the minimum we are using, that is 4 mg, 4 mg per liter, right? So the saturation point is this point. So if you see the formula for this given by Streeter-Phelps for oxygen curve, rate of increase of DO deficit is equal to rate of deoxygenation minus rate of re-aeration. That is D by capital D by dt is equals to K into D small LT minus KRD. So that is dt is equals to KD by L naught minus KR minus KD e to the power of minus KDT minus e to the power of minus KRT plus dA e to the power of minus KRT. So this is only the formula derivation. I didn't describe any derivation here. Only the formula has been shown for you based upon the oxygen sag curve. So simple ga ee figure vesesi, ee figure ni rough ga vesi explain about this thing. If you get any question about the explain the oxygen sag curve in the reversal streams, right? Next. So what are the characteristics of sewage? Sewage is composed of many materials that are broken down into 3 general areas. Okay, na? Sewage అనేది generally it is broken down into 3 stages. What is the first stage? The first area is physical area, chemical area, and biological characteristics. Okay, na? So every time we are discussing environment engineering subject, also we are discussing from unit 2 onwards, right? The physical stage, chemical stage, and biological area. So physical ఏముంటాయి తెలుసు, chemical ఏముంటుంది తెలుసు, biological ఏముంటుందో already we have learned. This section will aid you to identify this various. So here the parameters are total solids, total volatile solids, suspended solids, total dissolved solids, volatile suspended solids, settable solids, biochemical oxygen demand, 5-day, total nitrogen, ammonia, total phosphorus, grease, and chemical oxygen demand. So it depends upon the company to company, ఇవన్నీ చేంజెస్ అవుతుంది, కొన్ని యాడ్ అవుతాయి, కొన్ని సబ్ట్రాక్ట్ అవుతాయి. So general parameters ఏంటి అన్నప్పుడు we have to write all this. So we are having only 3 areas of sewage, that is physical, chemical, and biological. ఈ మూడిట్లో కలిపి ఇవన్నీ వస్తాయి అన్నమాట. Depends upon the company to company it will differ. So don't forget the parameters of the characteristics of sewage అన్నప్పుడు ఈ మూడు వస్తుంది. The parameters, the characteristics of sewage parameters అన్నప్పుడు you can write any of these things including all this one, right? దీంట్లో ఉన్నవన్నీ we can write like this. జస్ట్ మీకు ఒక ఐడియా కోసము ఈ స్లైడ్ చూపిస్తున్నాను. నెక్స్ట్ Yes, next heading is deep disposing of and monitoring sewage effluent. So disposing of the sewage effluent as well as monitoring of this effluents. The wastewater treatment process includes taking the solids out of the wastewater. The wastewater treatment process ఏం చేస్తుంది? It includes taking of solids out of the wastewater along with the water, getting rid of the solids, getting rid of the treated wastewater or effluent in a way the federal and state regulating agencies approve. Now, the effluent discharge methods laboratory equipment. So there are two methods of discharging the effluent. Effluent discharge methods అని మీకు యూనిట్ 4లో లాస్ట్ టాపిక్ దాని గురించి మనం డిస్కస్ చేస్తున్నాం ఇక్కడ. ఓకేనా? There are two major. So keep in mind there are two major methods of discharging the effluents. Those are continuous discharge and intermittent discharge. Okay, so two methods: continuous discharge effluent method and intermittent discharge method. So a word guర్తుపెట్టుకొని you can write the points on your own by knowing the basic points. Next, most treatment plants discharge an effluent to the receiving water all the time. The effluent may be, so most treatment plants discharge the effluent to the receiving water all the time. So ఎక్కడి నుంచి అయితే మనకి రిసీవ్ అవుతుంది, ఎక్కడి నుంచి అయితే మనకి వాటర్ వస్తున్నాయో ఇండస్ట్రీస్కి, మళ్ళీ తిరిగి మన ఇండస్ట్రీస్లోంచి వేస్ట్ వాటర్ రీట్రీట్ అయ్యి మళ్ళీ సేమ్ ప్లేస్కే వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. దట్స్ ద మీనింగ్. most treatment plants discharge an effluent to the receiving water all the time. ప్రతిసారి ఎక్కడి నుంచి వస్తుందో మళ్ళీ అక్కడికే వెళ్తుంది. The effluent may go to the ocean, gulf, bay, lake or streams. ఓకేనా? సో ఎక్కడికి వెళ్తుంది అది finally it is going in these water bodies. The point of discharge may be above or below the surface of the receiving water. So the point ఏంటి we are discussing? The point of discharge ఎక్కడ డిశ్చార్జ్ చేస్తున్నాము, ఓషన్లో కానీ, లేక్స్లో కానీ, స్ట్రీమ్స్లో కానీ, రివర్స్లో కానీ ఎక్కడ డిశ్చార్జ్ చేస్తున్నాము? సర్ఫేస్ మీదన, లోయర్ ద సర్ఫేస్, above the surface or below the surface. That is the point. Okay, next we'll see those things one by one. So if you see the continuous discharge method, continuous discharge is often cheaper than the other methods because it takes less manpower, equipment, storage and operate. However, a very good monitoring program must be used to make sure toxic waste is not discharged. Toxic waste ante enti? The chemicals which will harm to the human beings as well as the aquatic animals. So which one is cheaper method? Continuous discharge is a cheaper method when compared to the intermittent discharge. So why? Because continuously the process is going on, automatically the manpower, the labor, the time, the money will be saved. Intermittent చేసామనుకోండి, again we have to recruit the people, again we have to take the equipment, again we have to invest some money, and again we have to do the process. So that's why if there is a continuous supply, automatically there will be very less maintenance for this continuous discharge effluent method. And also we should keep in mind while taking the continuous discharge or intermittent discharge, the make sure that toxic waste should not be discharged. After the toxic waste is discharged, there is no practical way to stop or isolate the toxic substance. So మనము టాక్సిక్ సబ్స్టెన్స్ తో వేస్ట్ ఎఫ్లుయెంట్ ని ఇండస్ట్రీస్ లో నుంచి నదుల్లోకి, సముద్రాల్లోకి వదిలిన తర్వాత there is no practical way మళ్ళీ ఆ టాక్సిక్ మెటీరియల్స్ ని మళ్ళీ దాన్ని రీసైకిల్ చేసుకోవడానికి మనకి ఎటువంటి సోర్స్ లేదు. దట్స్ వై బిఫోర్ discharging the effluent into the outer bodies, so we have to eliminate the toxic waste and we have to discharge the material, right? Next one is intermittent discharge means the effluent is not discharged all the time but only from time to time. అర్థమవుతుంది కదా? Only from time to time. సో దీనికి సింపుల్గా ఏం చెప్పాలి? సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ continuous method and intermittent method. If you take any example, how come? So yes. So if you take the rice item, a bag, ఒక బ్యాగ్ తీసుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, every month if you take a 125 kg bag, automatically the amount of the rice bag will be reduced for your house, right? So if you take 2 kg or 3 kg every week, so for example, if you take a rice bag of kilo is 50 rupees. So if you take a rice full bag, 25 kgs తీసుకుంటే 25 5 are 1250. So 1250, 1250 rupees is a total bag. So he will give for 1100. So 150 rupees is saved when you take at once. So when you are not taking at once, what happens? The cost is increased. Every week you have to go to the shop and you have to purchase the labor, the maintenance, the manpower, everything is done. In the same way, continuous discharge అనేది it is a less process when compared to the intermediate discharge. So this type of discharge requires a place to store the effluent. So intermediate, so simple గా చెప్పాలంటే, for example, if your house is on the roadside, okay, if your house is on the roadside, every day మీ ఇంట్లో చెత్తను ఏం చేస్తారు, డస్ట్బిన్ లో వేసి, when a person comes, municipality person, you will give to the municipality person. Daily if you are giving, that is a continuous process. So whenever you are not giving continuously, in apartment ekkado 15th floor lo you don't have any automatic disposal material, then what you will do? So you will store those material for 3 days or 5 days or 1 week. ఒకేసారి ఒక పెద్ద బ్యాగ్ బ్లాక్ కలర్ కవర్స్ లో డంప్ చేసి డిస్పోజ్ చేస్తారు. అప్పుడు ఏం జరుగుతుంది? సో యూ హ్యావ్ టు స్టోర్ ద డిశ్చార్జ్, వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ఎఫ్లూయెంట్, స్టోర్ ద ఎఫ్లూయెంట్. సో మీరు స్టోర్ చేసుకొని పెట్టుకోవాలి. It is not often used in the large plants. So large plants, so that is not often used, but it does work well at lagoons and small treatment plants that have holding polishing ponds. So polishing ponds are the places where you are storing the effluent. Next, a typical intermittent discharge is seasonal discharge. A typical intermittent discharge ante enti seasonal discharge. Seasonal discharge means, for example, seasonal business ante enti? Seasonal business means ఓకే, సో అంబ్రెల్లా బిజినెస్ ఎప్పుడు జరుగుతుంది? గొడుగులు ఎప్పుడు కొంటారు? ఓన్లీ ఇన్ రైనీ సీజన్, దట్ ఈస్ అ సీజనల్ బిజినెస్. రేగి పండ్లు ఎప్పుడు వస్తాయి? ఓన్లీ ఇన్ పర్టికులర్ సీజన్, దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో సీజనల్ బిజినెస్. అరటి పండ్లు ఎప్పుడు ఉంటాయి? 365 days banana production is there. So that is not a seasonal, that is a continuous production, continuous irrigation. Like that, the special type of intermittent discharge is the seasonal discharge. This type of discharge is often used to protect the high quantity streams, especially during the season when the stream is used to get ideal for recreation. More storage is needed for seasonal discharge because they use 2 discharges. One in spring ante, other one is autumn. So manaki foreign countries lo we are calling them as spring and autumn. ఎండాకాలం వానాకాలం అన్నట్టుగా other countries they will called as a spring and autumn. The effluent is discharged under the control conditions approved by the regulating agencies. Based upon the regulating agencies of industrial labor laws, the effluent is discharged under controlled conditions. Then what are the methods of disposing and monitoring sewage effluents? So ikkada enti manamu we are discussing about the sewage disposing methods. Here we are seeing the methods of monitoring the sewage effluents. So how you are monitoring? So all the methods must be NTDS, already chadukunnamo. So we are having 2: direct discharge to receiving water, and second one is discharge to the recycling. Again it is going for recycling process. So I think the time is short. Okay, just నేను చదువుతూ వెళ్తాను, మీరు వినండి అంతే. Most treatment plants discharge effluent right into the receiving water. The abilities of receiving water to dilute and accept the effluent is known as NPDES permit limits, right? Next, the effluent may come from the final clarifier. Okay, this is also normal thing. Polishing ponds, lagoons, and storing of the effluent in the industry. The NPDES permits require the certain test to make the effluent on the regular schedule. Effluent testing may include, but it's not okay. In the detailed awesome level, effluent testing may include the flow measurement, temperature, BOD, COD, SS, pH, DO count, and chlorine residues. Laboratory tests and visual checks may show that the problem exists in the receiving water and something needs to be done. Plant operators cannot usually test large rivers, bays, lakes, and gulfs. So I'm having only 10 minutes. Discharge to recycling. In some areas where there is a shortage of water, wastewater effluent is recycled for industry, recreation, irrigation, fire control. So whenever there is a shortage of water in some industries or some areas, so there what they will do, the wastewater effluent is recycled for industry, recreation, irrigation, fire control. Many industries can be treated wastewater for cooling and cleaning. So manaki cooling ki, cleaning ki, they will use the wastewater again by recycling process. Often this is cheaper for the industry than using drinking water, potable water, drinking water. So technical word potable means drinking water. Lakes for fishing, boating have been maintained with the recycled wastewater. Records show that man-made lakes are often no more hazardous to the users than natural lake. Recycled wastewater is seldom used as drinking water supply. Monitoring means just simply controlling, checking, and observing. Observing of effluent discharge for recycling is very, very important. Only by the monitoring can the operator be sure that effluent is good enough to be used. Recycling units may include extended settling and biological stabilization in holding the ponds, sand filtering, and disinfection. Quality control is the most, since the recycled water must be safe. So the third one is evaporation and percolation basins are used to dispose of wastewater effluent by letting it evaporate and letting the percolate or sleep into the soil. So you can study. Then the balance thing is, what is an SFETP? Good advanced information I am giving you. So ETP means a process designed for treating the industrial wastewater for the reuse or safe disposal to the environment. So treating the industrial wastewater ela reuse gaani ledante disposal to the environment. So that is nothing but effluent treatment plant. Next, what is influent? Influent means untreated industrial wastewater. Effluent means, these are the meanings, very, very important meanings. Effluent and influent and untreated industrial wastewater. Effluent means treated industrial wastewater. Sludge means solid part separated from the wastewater by ETP process. Sludge and effluent and influent and influent means untreated wastewater. Now see the simple diagram. ETP అనేది ఒక సంస్థ. ETP means one organization, a plant. ETP is one plant where the treatment is done for influent water. అర్థమైనది సింపుల్ గా. సో ఇన్ఫ్లుయెంట్ వాటర్ అంటే ఇండస్ట్రీలోంచి వచ్చే వేస్ట్ వాటర్ ని, ఏది అన్ట్రీటెడ్ వేస్ట్ వాటర్ ని ఈటీపీలోకి పంపిస్తే ఏమవుతుంది, ఎఫ్లుయెంట్ లాగా బయటకు వస్తుంది. అంటే ట్రీట్ అయ్యి వాటర్ గుడ్ కండిషన్ లో ట్రీట్ అయ్యి బయటకు వస్తుంది. సో తర్వాత ఈ మధ్యలో ఏం జరుగుతుంది, స్లడ్జ్ అనేది సాలిడ్ పార్ట్ అనేది సపరేట్ ఛాంబర్ లో డిస్పోజ్ అవుతుంది. then this effluent is used for other industries or it is used for the same industry. అర్థమైంది కదా. ఈ సింపుల్ ఫిగర్ తో మీరు చాలా వరకు మీకు యూ కెన్ రైట్ ఆన్ యువర్ ఓన్. ఈ సింపుల్ డయాగ్రామ్ తెలిసిందంటే వెరీ వెరీ ఈజీ. ఇన్ఫ్లుయెంట్ అంటే ఏంటి, ఎఫ్లుయెంట్ అంటే ఏంటి, మధ్యలో ఏం జరుగుతుంది. నెక్స్ట్, వాట్ ఇస్ ద నీడ్ ఆఫ్ ఈటీపీ? టు క్లీన్ ద ఇండస్ట్రీ ఎఫ్లుయెంట్, and recycling it for the further usage. Next, to reduce the usage of fresh water in the industries. ante kada, to reduce the usage. So ఎక్కువ ఫ్రెష్ వాటర్ ని వాడకుండా ఆ వాటర్ ని మనం రీసైకిల్ చేసి we can use the water. That is a need for the ETP. And to cut the cost, expenditure ని తగ్గించుకోవడం on water procurement అంటే కొనుక్కోవడం. వాటర్ ని కొనుక్కునే పద్ధతిని తగ్గించేస్తున్నాము by the means of ETP process. To meet the standards for emission or discharge environmental pollutants from various industries set by the government and avoid heavy penalties. heavy or FT, nothing. అంటే పెనాల్టీస్ తగ్గించుకోవడానికి, ట్యాక్స్లు తగ్గించుకోవడానికి we are going with the standards to safeguard the environment against pollution and contribute in the sustainable development. Okay. Next, design of ETP. The design and size of ETP depends upon quality and quantity of industries, land availability, monetary considerations of constructions, operations, and the maintenance. Area dimensions depends upon this one. In case of less available, you are having CETP. Treatment levels and mechanisms of ETP. ఇవన్నీ మీకు షార్ట్ గ్లిమ్స్ లో మీకు ఇస్తున్నాను అనమాట. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ డిస్కసింగ్, మీకు జస్ట్ గుర్తు రావడానికి మీకు పంపిస్తున్నాను. వాట్ ఆర్ ద ట్రీట్మెంట్ లెవెల్స్ ఆఫ్ ETP? సేమ్ మళ్ళీ ప్రైమరీ ట్రీట్మెంట్, primary treatment, secondary treatment, and advanced treatment. And what are the mechanisms? Physical, chemical, and biological. ఇవన్నీ చెప్పి మీకు 10 సార్లు చెప్పాను, మళ్ళీ అడగద్దండి ఇంకోసారి. Then the flow chart for ETP and with an example take an industry, లేదంటే ఏదో ఒక ఇండస్ట్రీని తీసుకొని రాటే ఫ్లో చార్ట్ అన్నప్పుడు ప్రతి ఇండస్ట్రీకి రైట్ దిస్ ఫ్లో చార్ట్ and say that it is a flow chart for so industry, and write some few technical points related to the paper అనుకోండి, paper and pulp అంటే write some paper, the paper materials. Textiles అనుకోండి, pigments, dyes, cloths గురించి రాయాలి. ఓకే. if you see the flow chart, waste water అనేది ఇలా వెళ్తుంది. waste water influent అంటే untreated waste water is going to the preliminary treatment, ఇక్కడ ప్రాసెస్ అయ్యి primary treatment వెళ్తుంది. then in the primary treatment, after getting processed, it is going to the aeration tank. So in the aeration tank, the air is suspended into the tank, thereby it is getting some sort of purified and is going to secondary treatment plant. From here, it is going to the final effluent to the outside. ఈ మధ్యలో disinfection అనే ప్రాసెస్ జరుగుతుంది. సో in between what happens in the primary sludge, కింద ఏం జరుగుతుంది, కింద వచ్చేసి మనకి సాలిడ్ వేస్ట్ మెటీరియల్ అంతా ఇక్కడ డంప్ అవుతుంది అనమాట. రైట్. సో from the secondary clarifier, the aqueous sludge is coming down. From the primary clarifier, the primary sludge is coming down. ఇక్కడ మనకి స్లడ్జ్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ డిస్పోజల్ అనేది జరుగుతుంది. రైట్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ అ ఫ్లో చార్ట్ ఫర్ ఎనీ ETP, and you can write the name of a company and you can draw your own flow chart. Process అయితే ఇదే for every company, every industry, the flow chart is like this. ETP plant operation, screen chamber, collection tank, equalization tank, next flash mixture, next clarificator, next one aeration tank, clarifier. The clarifier collects the biological sludge. So ఇవన్నీ మీరు you can study on your own. 8th point sludge thickener, 9th point drying beds. So these are the ETP plant operation procedure. సో మనకి టోటల్ గా 9 ఉన్నాయి. ఈ 9 మీరు చదువుకోండి. So if you see the figures, effluent discharge. సో ఏది ఇండస్ట్రీలో ఎఫ్లూయెంట్ అంటే ఏం చెప్పుకున్నాం? ఎఫ్లూయెంట్ అంటే ట్రీటెడ్ వేస్ట్ వాటర్ ని ఎలా డిశ్చార్జ్ చేస్తున్నారు? సో దే ఆర్ డిశ్చార్జింగ్ ఇన్ దిస్ వే. సో ఈ పైప్ లో నుంచి ట్రీట్ అయ్యి మనకి ఒక డంప్ లో పడుతుంది. ఇట్ విల్ బి స్టోర్డ్ ఫర్ సమ్ టైమ్ ఆర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ డైరెక్ట్లీ సెంట్ టు ద రీసైక్లింగ్ యూనిట్ అగైన్. దెన్ ఇఫ్ యు సీ ద స్లడ్జ్ థికనింగ్ యూనిట్, సో మనకి స్లడ్జ్ వేస్ట్ అంతా వచ్చి ఇలా పడుతుంది కదా. ఏది ద స్లడ్జ్ అంటే దీనిలో మనం ట్రీట్ అయిన తర్వాత వేస్ట్, సాలిడ్ వేస్ట్ అంతా వచ్చి ఈ పైప్స్ ద్వారా వచ్చి ఇలాంటి ట్యాంక్స్ లో వచ్చి పడిపోతుంది. రైట్. సో వన్స్ ద సాలిడ్ స్లడ్జ్ ఈస్ సెటిలింగ్ హియర్, స్లోలీ డే బై డే, టైమ్ బై టైమ్, స్లోలీ ఇట్ ఈస్ బీయింగ్ డ్రైడ్ అండ్ ఫైనల్ గా మనకి డ్రై స్లడ్జ్ అనేది ఇలా కనిపిస్తుంది. రైట్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద కన్వర్షన్. ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఇలా వస్తుంది. అంటే ఆఫ్టర్ దిస్ లిక్విడ్ సాలిడ్ చూసారు, ఇది బాగా ఎండిపోయిన తర్వాత ఇట్ విల్ లుక్ లైక్ దిస్. సో ఇఫ్ యు టేక్ ఎనీ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ ఎఫ్లూయెంట్ క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్స్, ఏమన్నా మీకు కేస్ స్టడీ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏమంటే టెక్స్టైల్ ఇండస్ట్రీ తీసుకొని ఎలా ఇచ్చారు చూడండి. ఇది టెక్స్టైల్ ఇండస్ట్రీ, దిస్ ఆర్ ద ప్రాసెస్. ఇది మీకు యూనిట్ 5-6 లో చెప్పుకున్నాం దీని గురించి. కాంపోజిషన్ ఇది కూడా యూనిట్ 5-6 లో మీకు రఫ్ గా వస్తుంది. నేచర్ ఆఫ్ ద క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్స్ ఏంటి? హై BOD, COD, హై BOD, డార్క్ కలర్, pH వాల్యూ, ఆల్కలైన్ సస్పెండెడ్ సాలిడ్, డిసాల్వ్డ్ సాలిడ్, స్ట్రాంగ్లీ కలర్డ్. సో ఇవన్నీ అంటే ఒక్కొక్క ప్రాసెస్ లో ఇవన్నీ ఇంటర్మీడియట్ ఉంటాయి, ఇవన్నీ కలిసి ఉంటాయి అనమాట. కొన్నిసార్లు మిక్స్ అయి ఉంటుంది, కొన్నిసార్లు ఓన్లీ హై BOD, కొన్నిసార్లు ఓన్లీ COD, కొన్నిసార్లు ఆల్కలైన్ సస్పెండెడ్ సాలిడ్స్, కొన్నిసార్లు ఓన్లీ pH. లైక్ దిస్ యు ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ వేరియేషన్స్ ఇన్ ద ప్రాసెస్. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ద క్వశ్చన్స్ యు ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్. సో మీకు టైం అయిపోయింది. జస్ట్ యూ కెన్ సీ హియర్. Define the oxygen sac curve. ఇదే మీకు అవుట్ ఆఫ్ సిలబస్ బట్ హ్యావ్ షోన్ ఇట్. సో వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఎఫ్లూయెంట్ రెమెడీస్, మెజర్స్ ఫర్ డిస్పోజబుల్ వేస్ట్ వాటర్, ల్యాండ్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ గురించి వాట్ ఇస్ ద మెథడ్. What is effluent treatment plant? Explain in detail the design concepts at treatment level of 50B. What are the limitations and challenges of land treatment? Self-purification process, చెప్పుకున్నాం morning. Various standards to be maintained of disposable industrial into oceans. Discuss marine disposal or not. Marine disposal is nothing but the oceans. What are the salient features of management of industrial waste disposal schemes? Highlight the suitability and challenges of any one common effluent treatment plant process. So you can write some questions